Oh, okay, we are live. We are live. Okay. And let's let everybody in here. Welcome to the chat. I'm new to this technology. I'm new to StreamYard. Haven't really used that much, but getting used to it. We're getting used to it. So welcome to the webinar today. If you want to know how to get homes sold in a shifting market, you came to the right place, right? So I'm guessing people are coming into the presentation young. I don't where do I see that? Where do I see when people are actually here? Or you know what? Why don't we drop a chat and drop a say hello in the comments in the chat so I can see if anyone's actually here. Drop a comment and let us know where you're joining us from today. I always love to see that. Where in the world, where in the US, where in Canada, where I'm joining you guys from sunny Mexico. So let me drop that here in the comments. I'm joining from uh, I'm joining from sunny Mexico. From Toronto, welcome Sherry. And Shane from Gainesville, welcome Shane. Hey, love you, Shane. Sherry and Shane. It's been so long. How you guys been? Tamara from Austin, Texas, beautiful Austin, Texas. Hook'em Horns. My wife went to UT, so there we go. Dana Point, California, awesome. Welcome everybody. Thanks for dropping the chat. Now that I can see there's actually people here, so that's great. Not this is not in vain. The layout is a little bit different than the old Zoom webinars. So but we'll get through it. We'll figure it out. So welcome everybody. Thanks for coming here. We'll be talking about the shifting market and how to make it happen. Mark from Northern New Jersey, welcome, Mark. And you came to the right place. We're going to be talking about that today. So Young, can we get the slides out here, or should I click that button to get this stuff going? Let me see. Okay, there we go. All right, slides are here. Slides are here. Ready. So if you were here, I see some familiar names, in the chat already. If you were here a couple weeks ago, you were in the right place. But guess what? StreamYard went down a couple weeks ago, along with like half the internet went down that day. So we were victims of internet randomness, guys. So thank you so much for coming back for the redo. This is the redo of that webinar, and we're here. We're going to make it a good one. All right, great. Let's jump into it, folks. Let's jump into this presentation. Let's get into it. This is the alternate name I wanted to give the presentation. Shift happens, right? Shift happens. This is something that you're seeing in your own market. Let me tell you exactly what I mean by shifting marketplace. Okay, where are we right now? This is from April 2025, a little bit old, but this is the last month we have national data for in the US. Okay, it's not a live moving target. We look at the data a little bit behind. We should be seeing data from May very soon. But this is where we're at. Okay, we're on track for 4 million transactions in the US. That is lower than last year. Okay, last year was a challenging year for real estate in the US. This is lower than last year. Month over month, sales are down. Year over year, sales are down. Okay. So sales are taking it on the nose. Once again, we've been seeing lower and lower sales the last 3 years running. Okay. And prices are steady in the US, right? Prices are always a lagging indicator, though, right? There's a lot of pressure on prices. And guess what? Inventory is going up. Okay. So inventory is going up. It's 4.4 months nationally, up, way up from a year ago. Inventory across the whole country is way up from a year ago, but it doesn't tell us the whole story. Okay, it doesn't tell the whole story. I like this chart, right? This chart is by city. Okay, it shows the major markets in the U.S., and if the city is a brown color, it has less listings than 5 years ago, or sorry, 6 years ago, pre-COVID, like a typical market pre-COVID. And if the color is more of a green, it has way more inventory than pre-COVID. Okay, because COVID really changed things around. So we've been trying to, as a country in the U.S., we're trying to get back to levels of inventory that were normal pre-COVID. Well, some of these markets, look at the colors: Colorado, Texas, Florida, Georgia. My home market, Seattle, Washington, taking it on the nose. Inventory is way above pre-COVID levels. Okay. Inventory is up pre-COVID levels in a lot of parts of the country. If you're in one of these parts, right, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Inventory is up even past pre-COVID levels. And in the Northeast of the US, It's the opposite. You still have less inventory than before the pandemic. You're still not even back to pre-pandemic levels of inventory. So we're seeing a very disparate market. Here's another way to look at it. I think it's a little bit easier to look at the same information, same kind of information, but instead of broken out by city, it's broken out by state. Okay, you can see it. The more green means you've got way more inventory than 5 years ago, than 6 years ago, pre-COVID. And the more brown you are, you got way less inventory than pre-COVID. Okay. So number one thing is identify where are you on this chart? Okay. If you're in a state that is super brown, I don't think most of this stuff might not apply to you as much. Okay. You might get some value out of this webinar, but the people that get the most value are if your state is a lighter or darker shade of green, which means your inventory is way up. Inventory is way up, even from pre-COVID levels. Okay. That's setting the stage. That's what I mean by the shifting market. This was unheard of a couple of years ago. Every state was below COVID inventory levels pre-COVID, right? Every state was that. Just what shade of brown were you? There was no green at all in this chart. Now some of these states are bright green, right? Because inventory is way, way up, 100%. Okay, let's keep going. All right. So what do you do about this, right? What do you do? What do you do? A lot of agents are confused. A lot of agents are concerned, right? They're worried. They are actually not sure what to do. They don't know. Like, hey, what can I do about interest rates? What can I do about tariffs? What if tariffs played a role in this, right? What can I do about rising inventory? What can you do about higher days on market? That's a big factor in how we sell homes. How many days on market is average for your area? It's going up in a lot of these areas, right? What do you do about prices going down? In a lot of those areas where the colors are bright green, there's a lot of pressure to bring prices down because there's a lot of competition. We're shifting from a seller's market that's been going on for the last 13 years. We've had 13 years of a super hot seller's market into a more balanced or even more of a buyer's market. Okay. What do you do about that? What can you do? Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. We're going to talk about we're going to go tactical on this webinar, but I want to say one thing, right? Folks, a lot of agents are panicking out there. A lot of agents are really concerned. They don't know what to do. And a lot of agents are giving up. They're throwing their hands up and saying, you can't, no one's buying in this market. No one wants to sell in this market, right? There's too much competition. No one wants to buy. Interest rates are too high. That is not true, okay? Just that's factually incorrect because we're going to sell 4 million homes in this country this year, 2025, okay? Like that is a big thing. 100%. You've got to be sure that you understand that, right? Homes are being bought and sold every single day. Yes, there's less of them. Yes, there's less of them. But the biggest thing that you should understand is that homes are being sold every day. You just got to find a way to get to them. All right. Big, big, big difference. Big difference on mindset. Your mindset has to be in the right place because if your mindset isn't in the place where you can buy and sell homes, it doesn't matter what tactics you use. It doesn't matter. If you are already defeated before going in there, you're not going to be successful. Okay. What can you? So I think you should ask yourself this question. And I got this question from a really smart person, Alex Hormozy, and he said, when you're anxious about something, when you're worried about something in the market, right? Interest rates. Is there going to be a war? Is there going to be, the Fed is going to say something, right? Anytime you worry about something, you're anxious about something, you should ask yourself, can I control that factor? Do I have any control over it? Because everything I mentioned in the other slide, all those things you should be worried about, you actually have zero control over that. Okay. I'm going to repeat that. What interest rates are at, right? What tariffs are at, what the Fed policy is, what all these, you guys have zero control, unless you have the chairman of the Fed in this webinar, which I don't think so. You guys have zero control over any of that. Okay. And Alex Hormozy has a saying, if I can't control it, I shouldn't even talk about it. Okay. That's a little extreme, but if I can't control it, I would say you shouldn't really worry that much about it because you cannot control it at all. What can you control? Okay. What can you do? Right. You control talking to more buyers and sellers every day. That is the only thing you control. Okay. The only thing you can control is what are you doing every day to talk to more buyers and sellers? Okay. Because the market's shifted. There's more sellers than there used to be, and there are less buyers than there used to be. Okay. Things have kind of flipped a little bit in a lot of these markets. They flipped. Holy cow. That is what you control. Okay. So I'm saying all of this because your mindset has got to be in the right place for any of this to work. Because if you're stuck in there's nothing for me to do, the market's terrible, the market's shifted too much, no one's buying, no one's selling, none of this is going to make any sense. You're going to go, that's not going to work. You're going to defeat yourself before even trying. Okay. Do not go there, guys. You're here because you want to learn how to be successful. Because guess what? There are teams, I know that because I work with them at Power ISA. There are teams that are having their best year ever in 2025. How can that be? Like, how is that possible? Sales are down not only from last year, sales are down like 3, 4, 5% from last year. Sales are down 30% from 3 years ago. 30% from 3 years ago. Sales are down. How can someone have their best year ever? Well, I'll show you exactly how. Okay. I'm going to jump right into it. There is this concept called demand generation. All right. There's demand generation because here's a fact, guys. Here's a fact. Like I said before, sellers outnumber prospective buyers right now in a lot of these markets, nationally and in a lot of these markets, right? Especially a lot of these markets. Sellers outnumber buyers. There's less buyers out there. Okay. Gus, how can I grow my business if there's less buyers out there for homes? You've got to do a better job capturing the ones that are out there. You've got to do a better job at generating demand. Okay. You should generate that demand. You've got to change your offer. That's what I mean. You have to come up with a better offer because the fact is there are less buyers out there than there were a couple of years ago. What can you do? How are you going to adapt to that? All right. So I really like this book. If you haven't checked it out, this is a free book. You can actually watch this book. It's called $100 Million Offers. All right. It's a great book. It's a general business book. It's not a real estate book. It's a general business book, but I'm going to summarize it here for you. Okay. How can you stand out from all the other agents that are looking for clients right now? I'm going to focus on buyers. The first part of this webinar is focused on buyers. The second part is more focused on sellers. Okay. How can you stand out in this marketplace? All right. So there's less buyers, and the buyers that are out there are scared. They have anxiety. They're concerned, right? What are buyers concerned about? What are sellers concerned about, right? How can you make them an offer that addresses some of those concerns, right? That makes them feel better about it, that makes them feel like they can have an opportunity even in this market. We should be asking ourselves that question, all right? That's 100% what you should be looking at. And this concept of an offer, we're in real estate, guys. What are you talking about? We all have the same offer. We're all selling homes. That is not correct. Okay. That's not correct. Your offer to a potential buyer, to a potential seller, is not just getting them on the MLS, right? They can do that for a flat fee in most markets, right? That's not the value you've got. Okay. That is not it. You have to come up with a better offer because in a market that has less sales, less buyers, you have to up your game to grab more market share. Okay. Not just survive, but to thrive. You have to come up with a better offer. And I'm going to give you some examples of offers that are working in this market to generate more demand. To generate more demand. All right. Let's jump into it. Here is a great example. Okay. Assumable mortgages. All right. Assumable mortgages. What does that mean? For the folks that don't know about this, you might be under a rock the last couple of years. There's a bunch of different government-backed mortgages like USDA, VA, FHA, that a lot of them are assumable. Okay. You can have another buyer come in, and as long as they qualify, right, for that mortgage, they can assume it and keep the old interest rate. All right. There's more details to it, right? It's a little bit more complicated than that, right? But I happen to know a lot of people that are working with this company called Assume List, and they help you kind of figure this out. All right. They take you by the hand and walk you step by step through that transaction. All right. That's huge. That's massive. All right. But this is how a lot of agents are attracting buyers in this market. They're offering them a list of homes that have assumable mortgages. Okay. This is a great way to attract buyers. This is a great way because a lot of buyers, like I said before, how is your offer addressing the concerns of the marketplace? Okay. Buyers are concerned about interest rates. There's no way around that. Buyers are concerned about interest rates. People were saying interest rates are going to go down, but they haven't really gone down much at all. Is it going to happen later? Is it going to happen now? We're not sure. The last thing we heard from the Fed is they're not changing anything. Okay. So we don't know if and when interest rates will go down. How can you save people money on interest rates right now? All right. That is what your offer should focus on. If the marketplace is concerned about interest rates, give them solutions to interest rates. All right. And assumable mortgages is a great way to do that. Here's a case study. And by the way, you'll get a copy of these slides. You don't have to take, pictures and like that. You'll get a copy of this whole slide deck. I'll give you instructions, at the end of the presentation on how to do that. But here's a case study. Mike Lorino, he runs a very successful real estate team out of Northern Virginia, and he's having his best year ever in 2025. How is that possible? Because Mike, he went all in on assumable mortgages, right? That is his number one offer, and it's his number one lead source. Finding people that have assumable mortgages that want to sell, and people that qualify for assumable mortgages that want to buy. Okay, if you're in a large city, you can have VA, FHA all over the place, right? If you're near a military installation, like a major military, most large cities in the US have major military installations. And some small cities have massive military installations. This should be something you're looking into. If you're in a rural area, USDA loans. You should become an expert on USDA loans and homes that qualify for USDA loans. Okay. You should learn and should do it because Mike is killing it. Right. And again, I'm biased because Mike is a client of mine, right? Because he also has an ISA helping him out. But and I would love to tell you he's having his best year ever because of the ISA, but it's not just that. It is his offer. He has a killer offer that is attracting both buyers and sellers, both buyers and sellers. Because if you have a home that has a mortgage that can be assumed, that is a great selling point for that home as well. All right. 100%. And if people have any questions, drop them in the chat, right? If you don't know if I'm throwing out terms, you have no idea what they mean, drop a question in the chat and I'll jump in and try to answer it. Okay. Here's another example. This might be, I don't know if you can see the text on this one. This is not a client of mine. And I can't claim Tristan is my client, but Tristan, he just closed his first home with an assumable mortgage. Okay. He represented both the buyer and the seller. All right. The home had an assumable mortgage and he got it done and he closed the deal. Right. And by the way, most assumable, a big blocker for assumable mortgages for a lot of agents is that they took very long to close. Most homes that have assumable mortgages can close in 30 to 45 days. 90% of them, if you've got the right people doing it. A knowledgeable lender. That's why I like companies like Assumlist because they just handle that for you. They connect you with the right people. But if you got people that know what they're doing, 90% of assumable mortgages can close in 30 to 45 days. Like a regular home, if people know what to do. Okay. So Tristan closed his first home and then he decided, hey, I'm going to post about that and I'm going to try and find more people. And if you can read the itty bitty text on this slide, he is saying, hey, I've got a list of properties that qualify off market. I've got a list of off market properties that I can give you if you want to assume a mortgage at 3%. Okay. Or around there. That is an insanely good offer. Okay. That's not a good offer. That's a great offer. That's a home run, slam dunk offer. Okay. Would you like a home at 3%? If you're a buyer in this market, would you like access to properties that you can buy at a 3% mortgage? And of course, they're detailed. You have to read the fine print. Of course you do. But would you like a good chunk of that mortgage to be at 3%? Would that be a problem for you? Of course not, right? I messaged Tristan and I said, you got to put this in an ad. Don't just post it on Facebook. This is an organic post. Don't just post it. Got to promote this offer. That's a great, great offer. Every agent watching this, if you're here live, if you're watching on the replay, you should have an offer of assumable homes lists with assumable mortgages. You should be putting that out in the marketplace and generating that demand because a lot of buyers are shy they're concerned about buying a home at 6-7% interest rates. You know how many buyers are concerned about a home at 3% interest rates? I think zero of them are. Okay. Generate demand. Generate demand. Next, I love. Okay, here we go, guys. I really like this is about a method called circle prospecting. Okay, circle prospect. Or you're doing any kind of prospecting. Actually, if you're doing open house prospecting, if you're talking to, if any way you're talking to potential sellers, if you're talking to potential sellers, how can you stand out from the market? Okay, you as opposed to every other agent out there, you don't just want to list their home. You have access to buyers. You should be promoting an offer that you have access to buyers that are looking for homes like theirs. Like, but Gus, how do I get access to all these buyers? How do I don't want to lie. You shouldn't lie. Don't make stuff up. Okay. But when we're running circle prospecting campaigns for our clients, this is the number one offer that people are responding to. Hey, we've got buyers that are looking for homes in this zip code like yours. Have you ever thought of selling? Do you know anyone that might be thinking of selling? Okay. How do you find buyers? You might already have them in your CRM. Who is on those safe searches, those listing alerts? Those are potential buyers, right? You want to show them new inventory, your old internet leads, okay? What about your previous listings? Did you get any of them? Did any listing you sell go for above market value or had multiple offers? Did any of them, right? It means you have leftover buyers. And you can even expand this, guys. You can go to any listing that your team has sold, any listing that your brokerage has sold, any listing that anyone has sold in the area that you know had multiple offers or had a lot of interest. You can use that and talk to any seller in the area, do circle prospect, and give them the offer. Hey, I have access to buyers. I have access to buyers. Would you be interested in maybe selling, or do you know anyone that might be thinking of selling? Okay. You make that pitch to 30, 40, 50 people a day, you're going to get one or two potential sellers every day. Okay. Every day. That is a well run circle prospecting campaign. Okay. 100%. So, folks, I want to be really clear with that. Like, that is a potential game changer, right? When you're talking to sellers every day. And ISAs can do this at a really high level, or you can do this by talking to sellers every single day. And here's a great case study. This is Carlos Gonzalez. He built his business from Circle Prospect. Okay. He would generate, and he had the help of an ISA, but this would work with an agent or an ISA. It just takes more time. 2 listings per month just from Circle Prospecting. And this is one of the offers that he ran. Okay. We've got buyers. Are you thinking of selling? Especially now in a lot of these markets that are starving for buyers. If you have an offer like this, you're going to get a lot of attention. You're going to get a lot of attention, the attention of potential sellers. That's what you want. Okay. Here's another one, right? I kind of teased this one out already. Access to off market properties. Folks, you should. So if you are, this is a little bit different, right? Because if you're in a market that is starved for inventory, I'm talking about the Northeast. I'm talking about, hey, Mark, you're in New Jersey or, New York, Connecticut, all the whole Northeast, basically from Virginia on northwards, right? If you're starved for inventory, you should be running with this offer. Why? Because buyers want more homes. Some of these states, not a lot of them, but a good chunk of them are almost 50% less inventory than pre-COVID. Not enough homes on the market, guys. You should be building an off-market property list and using that and advertising that everywhere. Okay. That can get potential buyers moving. That can get potential sellers moving. Because in a really hot seller's market, as a lot of you guys know, one of the things stopping sellers is they have no idea where they're going to move to. Okay. They don't know where to move. So they're not going to sell. If you can help them solve that problem with an off market property, power to you. That's great. You got to shout it from the rooftops. You want to promote it like crazy. All right. And if you don't know how to generate an off market property list, check out my video. I literally have a video on how to do this, whether you're doing it yourself or you're doing it with the help of an ISA, pounding the phone and building an off market property. You have no idea how easy it is to build an off market property list and just keep it updated and use it to attract buyers and to attract sellers, buyer sellers. Okay. That's what you want to do. You want to generate demand with a better offer. You need to up your game to generate more interest in a market like this. You got to up your game. But that's not all, folks. That's not all. Let's look at the next one. Okay, so incentives, okay? Incentives. When you have a lot of competition, now I'm going back to the green states. We're talking about states that are in the shade of green. That last offer was states were in the shade of brown. This is for the green states, okay? You want to put out the incentives and you want to promote them like crazy. What do I mean? In a lot of these states, especially Texas, Florida, parts of Arizona, you have a lot of these builders that are really struggling to sell these homes. They're struggling to get the inventory out of there, okay? And they're offering insane incentives. Look at this. This is a real offer that I got from the marketplace, okay? A builder is offering a combination of 2-year buy down, right? A 2-year rate buy down to the 3% and the 4%, and then they're going to help them get a 5% mortgage for 30 years. All right. That is ridiculously good in this market. It's ridiculously good. Great, great, great offer. A lot of buyers would jump at this offer. Okay. A lot of builders in your area are making offers like this. They're giving out cash incentives. They're buying down the interest rates. They might even be losing money on some of these homes that they built, but they need to get out of these properties and to get out of these communities and on to the next project. So they really want to promote this. So sellers that are facing a lot of competition, they should be offering this. They should be, remember, the 2-1 buy down, lower the interest rates, right? Every single seller that is facing really stiff competition, bringing down the price is not the only thing you can do, okay? A price adjustment is not the only thing you can do. You can also sweeten the deal with an incentive, okay? A rate buy down, a 2-1 buy down, whatever you good contribution to those closing costs, you should be offering and setting yourself apart from other similar properties. This is another way to do it. This is another tool in your toolbox. But the builder incentives in some of these areas are just insane. They're crazy good. And a lot of buyers have no idea about them. Okay. They don't know about them. So you should be again, maybe you need permission to do this. Maybe you don't. You should be grabbing those builder incentives and giving them to the marketplace, promoting them to the marketplace. You can run ads around this. I have agents running ads on homes lists for the best builder incentives, okay? The best builder incentives in this area. And people are doing this in Utah, in Tennessee, and a lot of the markets that are a little bit greener right now, right? Utah, Tennessee, Texas, a lot of them, right? I'm seeing this offer. Agents are generating demand by promoting these great, great builder incentives and becoming the expert. Like I said, you might have to become the expert in assumable mortgages. You might have to become the expert in builder incentives. Which builders are offering the best incentives? Which have the best? Again, that's one factor in the decision because obviously it has to do with the quality of the builder, the location, the school district, all those things matter, right? But all those things being equal, you should know which builders have the best incentives because you want to be an expert in that and you want the marketplace to know 100%. Let them know that this is working and this is available to them. All right. Another one, folks. Okay. And again, you might be a fan of expired listings or you might not be a fan of expired listings. Okay. As the market shifts, as we have more homes on the market, we are going to see more expired listings. Okay. That's it. That's just math. Okay. It's just a function. It's just a numbers game. If you have more listings active and you have more listings not selling, right? Refusing to adjust the price, just getting shell shocked by the market, you're going to see more expired listings. All right. So we have a lot of agents that are killing it right now with expired listings, but there's a catch. Okay. Here's the thing. Some of these sellers expired for a reason. A lot of them did for a specific reason. It might be the property's not showing great. It might be the price is just too high. They don't want to adjust. A lot of them, they feel that their agent failed them. Okay. That's a real seller feeling, a real seller perception that the agent told them that they might sell, or they perceived that the agent said they would sell at a certain price or not selling. And the agent is telling them to adjust the price and they don't believe them. They don't trust them. So when they expire, they're open to other opinions. That's what it means. That's how I see it. Okay. They no longer trust or want to work with that previous agent. and they are open to other opinions, you can give them that opinion. And you might have, this happened to me. It might have happened to you. You see a seller that's stubborn on price. They don't want to budge on price. The listing expires, and then a week goes by, a month goes by, a couple months go by, and they're back on the market at the right price. Okay? They're back on the market at the right price because they are a motivated seller that had an agent come to them, and now they were receptive to the message. They weren't receptive to you. They were receptive to somebody else. Okay. You might have gone through that. I have certainly gone through that. And yeah, it sucks. It's not good. It's not a good feeling, but it's reality. Okay. On the other end of that spectrum, if you're calling your prospecting expired listings, you want to qualify on motivation. Okay. You want to qualify on motivation. We're going to see more expired listings over the next few months than we've seen in a long time because inventory is up 30% nationally. And in some of these markets, the green states from last year, inventory is up 100%. We have twice the amount of homes on the market than we had before. Okay. So a lot of listings are going to expire. You can call those up. In some of these markets, it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. But here's the thing, you have to qualify them for motivation. Are they truly motivated to sell? Because if they're stuck thinking they can get a price from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, don't waste your time. That seller's not going to budge. Find the sellers that are actually motivated to sell and talk to them and work with them. Help them. Okay. And here's another nugget. Old expireds work as well. Expireds from 6 months ago, a year ago. If I were prospecting for expireds right now in my market, I would go back to the summer of 2022. I'm not joking. I would call listings that were on the market 3 years ago, right? Right as the market was shifting, summer of 2022. That's when the market started to shift. It went from a super hot seller's market to higher interest rates and more of a balanced market, right? If they were on the market 3 years ago and haven't sold yet, I would want to talk to them and ask them, hey, if you could sell now, would you still sell? But I'm not going to get this much money and this and that. You know what? I'll help you figure out how much money you could get for the property. If I could get you a qualified offer, would you be at least interested in selling? Well, maybe. Okay, great. Let's talk more. Let's talk further, right? Let's see where they're at. And let's see if their expectation is realistic. Because if their expectation is they want to sell for a price from 3 years ago, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work in a lot of these markets, right? It's just not going to happen. So you got to be realistic with them, qualify for motivation. All right, next one. Oh, and here's a great case study of an agent that did exactly this, right? And one of the toughest shifting markets, COVID boom, COVID bust town, and just shooting fish in a barrel with expireds. Johnny Wells got 6 listings in 5 weeks with an ISA helping him out, helping him prospect, and just calling expireds. Old expireds, new expireds. If you have a lot of expired listings in your market, and a lot of them do, and they're only going to go up. Let me be clear on that, right? My prediction, since inventory hit like a 6-year high in March, expireds are going to hit a 6-year high in September because a lot of listing agreements last about 6 months, right? So super high inventory starting in March. We're going to have super high expired listings in September, October, November, especially December and January. It's going to be crazy. If you've ever thought of going into expireds, now would be a really good time. There's going to be way more of them available. Okay. All right. Here's another one. Here's an oldie but a goodie. An oldie but a goodie. Guys, another strategy to be successful in the shifting market is your own database. Now, people might be rolling their eyes. Gus, I've heard of this whole database thing before. My database is not working, Gus. It's not as good as it used to be. I used to build my business just on my database, and it's been drying up for the last year, for the last few months. It's not what it used to be, okay? Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of you guys have never truly prospected your database, okay? You were great at receiving leads from your database, but you were not great at prospecting and generating leads from your database, okay? You don't have to, maybe you're saying yes or no, maybe you're nodding your head. Most agents agree with me. They're not great at working their own personal database. They don't know how. They don't want to. It's cringe. Or even worse, you think you actually are working your database because Gus, I post on social all the time. I'll email people. Like I'm lead generating for my database every day. That's not good. Maybe that was good enough when the market was great. That is not good enough in the market of today. Okay. You have to reach out to your database. You have to teach them something about the current market, especially, and you have to ask them for help in building your business. Okay. You have to ask them for help. And if you're curious about how to do that, I have a video from Elsie on that as well. Database domination. I just taught that webinar a month ago. Okay. So go to the, Lab Code Agents YouTube channel and check it out. How to properly actually prospect your own database. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Okay. Story time. Now, I don't have this as a case study because I actually don't have permission from this agent to share their personal details, and you'll find out why. Okay, I had an agent, and this agent had hired Power ISA. They wanted us to hire an ISA for them, train them up. They wanted help running their Facebook ads. They wanted a lot of things. Okay, this is a big thing, and then I was personally coaching this agent. And then I realized that they were driving Uber on their off hours. They were Uber driving to make ends meet. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? Because I'm telling you, if you're barely hanging on for dear life, investing in an ISA and investing in Facebook ads is probably not the right thing for you. Okay. So I went deep with this agent and I said, what's happening? What's going on? Tell me about this, right? And they kind of came clean with me and said, hey, and this is the end of 2022. Okay. End of 2022, when the market was shifting dramatically. Okay. Dramatically. And their business had just dried up. They told me, Gus, I take it back. It's probably the end of 2023. I take it back because in 2022, they had sold 14 homes and they were happy as a clam. Okay. Happy as a clam because their database, they had closed 14 deals only from their database, 14 deals. It was 2023. Interest rates were between 7 and 8% at some months in 2023. If you don't remember that, that was fun. And they were saying, Gus, I've closed 3 deals this year. 14 deals from my database last year, 3 deals from my database this year. I'm desperate. I need help. And ISA is a way to do it. And I go, I have to disagree with you. Again, this is literally, I'm telling her, ISA is not the solution for you. You're not gonna, you don't have enough money for it. You're gonna run out of time because you don't have enough funds to keep it going. It's gonna be a failure for you. We have to work your database like never before. I asked them, what's wrong with their database? They go, no one's buying right now. No one's reaching out. And they go, have you ever called your database? Have you ever actually worked? Have you ever called everybody in your database? And she had never done that. Okay. They had never done this before. And I said, okay, before hiring the ISA, before turning on Facebook ads, right? You got to do this. I told you, you got to build your database, write the name of every single person down. I want you to call through it and I want you to invite them to a class about real estate, like whatever you want. Okay. And they ended up doing a class on VA mortgages, VA loans. Okay. And they got a lender involved and they had them pay for it. And there was like this big, really nice dinner at this restaurant. I'm like, man, I would have done it for way less than that, for something a little bit lower cost, maybe in your brokerage's conference room or something like that. But they went all out on this event. They had almost 80 people confirm and 60 people show up in person for this event. Within 90 days, they had made $20,000 in commissions. Okay. And they doubled their production within 90 days for the whole year in a market that no one was buying it. No one was buying it. Okay. So when I tell you this, I'm telling you, I was speaking to this agent. I'm speaking to all of you. I know most of you have never truly prospected your database the right way. I know it. Okay. You don't have to tell me. I know it's true. Prospecting your database properly can be the solution to a lot of your problems. Okay. For most people watching this, do it the right way, do it with intention, do it harder than you've ever done it before. Invite them to a class about real estate, teach them about assumable mortgages, teach them about, off-market properties, teach them about something that's relevant to this market. Okay. Teach them about builder incentives. How does that work? Okay. About rate buy downs. Teach them about topics that are relevant to this market. And you're going to get people, you're going to get demand. You're going to generate demand. Okay. So important to do. All right. That is it on the buyer portion of the presentation. We're almost done, but I don't want to end this presentation without talking about sellers. Okay. And what I like to call in a shifting market. So this is the irony. In a shifting market, listings are easier to get, which is kind of ironic, right? In a shifting market, you have more sellers than buyers in a shifting market. Okay. Sellers are easier to get, but homes are harder to sell. Listings are easier to get, but homes are harder to sell. What do you do in that case? You've got to get better at what I call seller management. Seller management. And this is the name of the game, managing expectations. Guys, this is so huge. You've got when you're taking a listing on, you have to be realistic about the marketplace. Okay. You got to make sure your seller has a strong motivation. A few years ago, sellers would go on the market just to see how much they could get. Like they would say, hey, if I can hit this number, I'll sell. If I don't hit that number, I don't want to sell. Right. There were sellers like that. There was a lot of them. Right. And a lot of them would get their number. If they didn't get their number early on, they would wait a few months and the market would rise and they could sell their property for a ridiculous amount, more than they imagined. Right. In a lot of markets, that time is over. They can't do that anymore. Those sellers are not going to sell. Those sellers shouldn't sell. They're going to waste everybody's time. Qualify on actual motivation. And you got to say no. Okay. You have to say no to sellers that are just not motivated to sell. They're not willing to do what they have to do to get their property sold. And the way I like to put this, the way Coach Brandon Morenin says this, detach from the outcome. Okay. You are the expert. You are the pro here. If you're talking to someone that has no clue and does not want to become educated, does not want your help and your advice on how to sell in this market, you have to say no to them. Okay. You have to be realistic with them and tell them what it takes to get sold. Okay. What does that mean? I'm going to go into more detail, guys. I hate seeing these posts. These are from lab coat agents over the last few weeks. Okay. What am I have all these listings and no one's coming to see them. I need your advice. My listings aren't, no one's coming to look at my listings. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Right. And I've engaged with these, and they're always posting anonymous. I understand why. I'm not criticizing that. I understand why, because these agents feel they're failing, right? And they want to get help. They're asking for help. How can I get my listing sold? Okay. I need help. But when you tell the agent, you've got to come clean. If your price is too high, if your home doesn't look great, right? And they never provide links to the listing because that would reveal who they are. But if you're overpriced for this market, you got to come clean to the seller and tell them that. And I actually interacted with both of these posters, and they said, no, the home is priced correctly. The market is telling you otherwise. Okay. The market is telling you otherwise. There's only a few things you can do to sell a property as an agent. There's only a few, okay? Only a few, all things being equal. You can price it right. You can show it. It has to look amazing, right? It has to be an attractive property, and you can give it some time. As an agent, that's really all you can do, okay? Again, I'm assuming you're putting on the right places, you're promoting it, right? You're doing all the marketing you should be doing, but these have outweighed importance. Okay, massive importance on how is it priced to sell? Does it show amazingly? And are you giving it enough time to get a result? Okay, big thing. That's really it. You have three levers you can pull as an agent. Right? Because you can't change the location of the home. You can't change the market. Right? You can't change any of those things. This is what you actually control. This is what you actually control. And I see too many agents messing this up. Right? One of these three or all three. And you're going to have a bad outcome. You're going to have an angry seller. You're going to have a canceled listing or an expired listing. Right? Pricing it right. This has never been more important than a market like this. Pricing it right. And not just pricing it right with comps, okay? Because comps tell you one part of the story. Recent sales that are comparable. I get it. You should also know something called the absorption rate. What is absorption rate? It is how quickly is the market absorbing the inventory, okay? There's a formula behind it. If the absorption rate is above 20%, it's a certain market. If it's below 20%, it's another kind of market, right? So you should know what this means because you're the expert, all right? You should be telling your seller, this is where the market is. We have 6 months of inventory available. Why? Because of the absorption rate. It would take us 6 months of selling to sell every single home that's available right now with the current sales we have. Okay. That's a lot. A balance, that's a buyer's market. Okay. And some of these markets have that. Some have more inventory than 6 months. You have to inform your sellers about that. Educate them. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. Know your local inventory. And you have to have a strategy around pricing. Like I said, pricing it right is one of the biggest things you control about selling a home. Pricing it right. And what's your pricing strategy? If you get no showings and no offers in the first 2 weeks of a brand new listing, the market is speaking to you. The market is screaming that there's something wrong with your listing. You can't change the location. If it looks great, it shows amazing. You can't change what it looks like, right? What can you change? You can give it more time, probably not going to help out, or you can adjust the price. What are you going to do? What's the plan? You got to go into it with a plan, all right? And guys, this is a huge, okay, this is because a lot of agents are, I'll be honest with you, a lot of agents, this is the last slide. We're almost done here, guys. This is so important because a lot of agents are scared of having that conversation with their sellers. Okay. I understand it. I have empathy for that. There's fear. They're saying, yeah, but they're going to come to me and say, well, what are you doing to sell this property? You got to promote it more. You got to put it in front of more buyers. What are you doing? So when I was an active agent, when I was in production, every single listing I had would get a weekly listing report, and it would show them exactly how many people are looking at the home. How many are looking at it through the MLS? How many are looking at it through Zillow and Trulia and all these Realtor.com? How many people are looking at it from my own paid social media ads? How many people are looking at the property? Because ultimately, that's my job, to get as many eyeballs on it, right? Because a seller is always, they're stubborn. They're going to say, well, you haven't done your job. You haven't shown it to enough people. There's got to be someone out there willing to pay this money for that home. And you can show them, this is exactly what I'm doing to promote your property. These are the results of that. Why isn't it selling? Okay. If it looks great and you're promoting the hell out of it, we got to make an adjustment. And we cannot adjust what it looks like if it looks great already. We can't change the location. What can we change? And that is adjusting the price. In a market where prices are going down, you don't want to get cut trying to catch up to the market. You've got to price ahead of the market. Got to price ahead of the market, or you're dead, guys. It's not going to work. You've got to get ahead of it. And I actually have an example. Let me show this. Young. Let me share my screen real quick and show people. And I'll share this at the end. By the way, I'll get a copy of this. This is an example of what a weekly seller report looks like. So I'm going to share this real quick. Jan, can we put that? Can we share the screen so people can see my screen? It should be the to show the weekly listing report. I don't see it on the. Can you put that as the shared screen? I don't see it here on the. Okay, here we go. Let's put it. Okay, here we go. Great, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so just look at this. Okay, so this is an email. We'd send this as an email, right? Every single week, right? And we go executive summary. What's happening with the property this week? Okay, web activity summary. How many people are watching it, right? How many people saw the property? How many eyeballs are on the property, right? You know, how many, leads are we generating, right? How many people are watching it on the MLS? Okay. Uh, Summary from the last open house we did. Any feedback we've gotten from agents. Okay. And market summary and current competition. Okay. How are things going in the market, and who are we competing against in this market? Right. And that's it. That was basically it. Right. So that is like a big piece of what we're doing. So thanks, John. Can we get the slide deck back on there? Put the slide deck back on there. So that's what I mean by weekly listing report. All right. You've got to prove to your seller that you're doing everything you can to get this property sold. So when you're pushing back on price, they don't push back that you're not marketing it enough, right? That not enough people are. The only reason it's not selling is that not enough people have seen. So Sherry, I'll share this with you guys at the end of the presentation. So if you email me, you'll be able to see this. You'll get a copy of this. So that's the demonstration. So that's the end of the presentation, folks. So thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I'll share that with you guys. If you want a copy of this whole slide deck and a copy of that weekly listing report, shoot me an email that says, with a subject line, shift happens, right? To info@powerisa.com. Shoot me an email to info@powerisa.com. And in the subject line, include shift happens, and you'll get a copy of this slide deck and a copy of that weekly listing report. This is from, years ago, but it's still relevant now. Okay. You should be doing this for every single one of your listings at least once a week to keep sellers up to date. All right. And counter that 100%. So just for the folks asking about it, just send me an email. So Mark, Mark, send me an email to info@powerisa.com. Send it over, and I will reply. Actually, a bot will reply with a link to that, right? So I'm not actually going to email you back, which is fine. But a bot will, right? It'll respond to you today. It should happen today, and give you the information. All right. So email info@powerisa.com with the subject line shift happens, and you will get a copy of this slide deck and of the weekly listing report. And if you guys are interested in getting an ISA, as always, we give our LCA audience the best deal possible. You get 50% off this to start with a new ISA. They can help you implement a lot of these strategies to have success in a shifting market. All right, guys, that's what we got. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. If you thought this was useful, give it a like, drop a comment. All those are appreciated. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, everybody.